Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the mountain of financial news and try to boil it down to what you actually need to know.
That's right.
It's Friday, January 17th, 2025, and boy, do we have a lot to unpack today.
We do.
The IMF is predicting big things for the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court could be about to reshape the social media landscape.
Absolutely.
And oh, by the way, Trump is back for round two.
Round two.
Buckle up because we're diving into a day of market movers, economic trends, and maybe just a touch of political drama.
It's going to be an interesting one for sure.
So speaking of interesting, the IMF, that's like the economic brain trust for the whole world, is saying the U.S. economy is on track to be a global leader in 2025. What's fueling all this optimism?
Well, they're pointing to some pretty solid indicators like strong consumer spending. We're all out there shopping.
Right, retail therapy?
Exactly. And there's a surge in innovation, especially in areas like tech and healthcare, suggesting that the U.S. is well positioned for continued growth.
At least for now.
Right.
Okay, so that's good news for the economy as a whole.
Yeah.
But what does it actually mean for, our individual investments?
Well, a strong economy typically means a good environment for businesses.
Right.
Which can lead to higher profits and, potentially higher stock valuations. But remember, the stock market doesn't always dance to the same tune as the economy.
Right.
You've got interest rates, inflation,
Oh, yeah.
and of course the political landscape all playing a role.
Speaking of the political landscape, let's address the Trump in the room, shall we?
Yeah, elephant or the Trump, yeah.
Some experts are saying that his return could actually trigger a stock market crash, maybe even a 40% drop. That's a lot.
That is a big number.
What's behind that kind of prediction?
A lot of it boils down to uncertainty around Trump's trade policies.
Okay.
During his first term, he was known for those aggressive tariffs, essentially taxes on imported goods. And while they can be good for protecting domestic industries, they can also disrupt global trade and end up hurting businesses and consumers.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword.
Exactly. So the concern is that he might go back to those protectionist policies, which could lead to a trade war and a market downturn.
And we actually saw a little bit of that uncertainty play out in the bond market today.
We did.
Treasury yields got all mixed up. Basically, investors are holding their breath, waiting to see what Trump says in his inauguration speech on Monday.
Absolutely. The markets hate uncertainty. Investors want to know what the policies are going to be so they can make informed decisions.
Right.
And with Trump back, that clarity is in short supply.
Speaking of uncertainty, let's talk about a story that has implications for everyone who likes to, scroll through their phone. The Supreme Court just upheld a law that could potentially ban TikTok in the U.S.
It's a pretty big development. This law gives the government a lot of power to ban apps if they think there are national security risks. And, well, TikTok, owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, has been under scrutiny for a while now.
So is TikTok actually going to vanish from our phones?
It's hard to say at this point. Just because the Supreme Court upheld the law doesn't mean we're going to see an immediate ban. There's going to be a lot of legal back and forth.
Okay.
And the Biden administration could decide not to enforce it at all.
It's like a real-life legal drama with the fate of one of the world's most popular apps hanging in the balance. But this raises an important question. What would a TikTok ban actually do to the tech world and the stock market?
Well, that's tough to predict, for sure.
Right.
But it could have some pretty big consequences. A ban would obviously leave a big hole in the social media market, which could benefit competitors like, Instagram or YouTube.
Right.
But it could also send shockwaves through the tech industry, raising concerns about government overreach and the future of online content.
Yeah.
And as for the stock market, well, whenever there's uncertainty, investors tend to get a little jittery.
A little bit.
Companies that rely on ad revenue from TikTok, for instance, could see their stock prices take a hit.
Okay, so while we wait to see what happens with TikTok,
Yeah.
it's pretty clear this decision could have ripple effects far beyond just the app itself. Now, speaking of tech disruptions, what's the deal with all these AI agents that companies are pouring money into? Are they about to become our new coworkers?
There's definitely a lot of hype around AI agents right now.
Right.
And while the idea of AI taking our jobs sounds a little sci-fi, the reality is that this technology is evolving fast.
It is.
AI agents are basically software programs designed to automate tasks.
Okay.
Things like scheduling meetings, writing code. Some experts think they could revolutionize the way we work, make us more productive and efficient.
So are AI agents going to be the next big thing in the stock market?
Possibly. If they deliver on their promises, the companies creating and using them could see a lot of growth.
Right.
But it's still early days, the technology is young, and we don't really know the long-term impact. Like, will AI agents actually replace human workers? Or will they just help us out, free us up to focus on more complex things?
Right.
These are the questions investors will be wrestling with as the technology develops.
Yeah, it seems like AI is going to be a big theme this year, a reminder that staying informed about these technological advancements is crucial for anyone who wants to be a smart investor.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a minute and talk about, the human side of finance.
Sure.
We got an email from a listener who's in a bit of a financial predicament with her new husband.
Uh-oh.
He told her he had this nice nest egg saved for retirement.
Yeah?
Turns out he's actually in a lot of debt.
Oh, wow.
And she's understandably pretty worried.
Yeah.
She wants to know how to protect herself financially, especially with all the volatility in the market right now. What advice would you give to someone in her shoes?
Well, the most important thing is open and honest communication. They need to sit down and have a real conversation about their finances, make sure they're on the same page about their goals and, what they owe. It might be helpful to talk to a financial advisor.
Right.
They can give some objective advice about budgeting, managing debt, and planning for the future. And, it's not the most romantic topic, but a prenuptial agreement could have been a good idea to protect both of their assets in case of a divorce.
Yeah, even though it's not fun to think about, protecting yourself financially, especially in uncertain times, is super important. Now, let's look at some other big trends in the market today, specifically in the energy sector. Clean energy companies, Rivian and Plug Power, just closed these huge government loan deals.
I saw that.
And the timing is, well, let's just say it's interesting. They closed these deals just days before Trump takes office again, and he hasn't exactly been a champion for clean energy.
That's true. Trump's position on clean energy has been kind of mixed.
Right.
So this could mean that these companies are trying to get funding while they can, expecting things to be maybe a little less favorable under the new administration.
Makes sense.
Or, it could just be a coincidence. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things play out. It definitely raises some questions about the future of clean energy investment with Trump back in the White House. Okay, now for something completely different. Bitcoin. It surged on news that Trump might issue a crypto executive order.
Oh, interesting.
What's happened there?
Well, the crypto market is known for being volatile. Any news, even the possibility of future news about regulation, can make prices go crazy.
Makes sense.
And Trump's stance on crypto has been, shall we say, unpredictable in the past, so it's not surprising that this speculation is causing a stir.
So it's a reminder that crypto is still kind of the Wild West. Investors need to be ready for some big ups and downs. Speaking of exciting developments, Amazon's self-driving car unit, Zoox, is planning a major expansion this year. Are we finally going to see driverless taxis on the streets?
Zoox has been working on this tech for years, and it looks like 2025 could be their year.
Yeah.
They're planning to launch a robo-taxi service in a few major cities, which could really shake up the transportation industry.
That sounds like something straight out of a movie.
It does, but the future is closer than we think. It's just another example of how technology is transforming our world, from how we get around to how we invest.
It really is.
Welcome back to our deep dive into today's market and economic news.
We've covered a lot of ground already, from the IMF's surprisingly rosy outlook for the U.S. economy
Yeah.
to that potential TikTok ban, and of course the rise of the AI agents.
A lot to digest.
It is. But we're here to help make sense of it all, connect the dots.
Right.
Now let's zoom in a bit and take a look at some specific companies that caught our attention today.
Sounds good.
First up, we've got State Street, the financial services giant.
Right.
They just reported their earnings for the fourth quarter of 2024, and the numbers are, well, they're interesting.
What stood out to you?
Well, they reported higher revenue and profit compared to last year.
That's a good sign, especially in this kind of volatile market.
You'd think so, right? But here's the thing. Their stock actually dipped after the earnings announcement.
That's where expectations come into play. Investors are always looking ahead,
Right.
trying to predict what's going to happen next.
So even though State Street had a decent quarter, the market wasn't impressed.
Not really, no. Their guidance for 2025, specifically for their net interest income, the difference between the interest they earn on loans and what they pay on deposits, it came in a bit flat. Investors were hoping for, well, more.
So it's not just about past performance, it's about future potential.
Exactly. And even a strong company can sometimes fall short of those Wall Street expectations.
Okay, let's move on to another company that had kind of a mixed bag of results. Regions Financial.
Right.
Their fourth quarter profit more than doubled compared to last year.
Now that is impressive.
Right. But similar to State Street, their stock didn't react as positively as you might think.
I'm sensing a theme here. Maybe expectations again.
You got it. Their guidance for 2025 also underwhelmed some analysts. So once again, it seems like meeting or exceeding those expectations is really what keeps investors happy.
It's a constant balancing act. You've got companies working hard to deliver solid results,
Right.
while investors are trying to guess what the future holds. And sometimes those two perspectives don't quite match up.
Okay, now let's talk about a company that's getting a lot of love from analysts, SAP.
The German software giant.
Right. PD Cowen, one of the big investment banks, just upgraded their stock to a buy. They're putting their money where their mouth is on this one.
Interesting. What's their reasoning?
Well, they believe that the whole AI boom, this increasing importance of artificial intelligence, is going to push more businesses to move their enterprise resource planning systems,
Yeah.
their ERP, to the cloud. And SAP is a leader in those cloud-based ERP solutions.
That's a smart strategy, positioning themselves at the forefront of this whole AI wave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
PD Cowen's basically saying, hey, if you believe in the future of AI, then SAP is a good bet.
It's a great example of how analysts try to predict the ripple effects of these new technologies.
Right. They're looking for companies that aren't just riding the wave, but shaping it.
Now let's switch gears from software to the energy sector. One company I was looking at today was Enersys.
Enersys.
Yeah, they specialize in batteries and power equipment. They're all about stored energy solutions.
Interesting. What's the news with them?
Well, Oppenheimer, another big investment bank, they upgraded their stock too. They pointed to favorable end market conditions,
Okay.
basically strong demand for the kind of products they offer. And they also mentioned these self-help inflection points.
Self-help inflection points. That sounds kind of vague. What does that even mean?
It refers to steps the company is taking internally to improve operations and boost their financial performance. Think of it like a company giving itself a makeover, becoming leaner and more profitable.
So it's not just external factors like market demand, but internal improvements too.
Exactly. Oppenheimer is saying that Enersys is making smart moves that will benefit them regardless of the broader economic situation.
It's a good reminder that even with all the uncertainty, there are companies out there doing well and creating value.
Absolutely. And for investors, finding those companies can be incredibly rewarding.
Okay, let's take a step back and look at the overall market performance today. The Dow, that's the Dow Jones Industrial Average, surged by pretty impressive 300 points.
Wow, that is a big jump. What's driving that rally?
A few things seem to be at play. First, interest rates strong today, which usually makes stocks more attractive.
Makes sense. Lower interest rates mean lower borrowing costs for companies, potentially leading to bigger profits.
Right. Second, the S&P 500, another major index, is on track for its best week since November.
That's encouraging.
It is. It seems like the market is finally shaking off that recent slump and regaining some momentum.
And don't forget that positive economic outlook from the IMF. They're saying the U.S. economy is going to lead the global recovery this year.
It all adds up to a more optimistic mood among investors.
It's definitely good news for anyone who has money in the market, but it's important to remember that the market goes in cycles.
Right.
What goes up will eventually come down, even if we can't predict exactly when that'll happen.
So enjoy the ride, but buckle up for those inevitable bumps along the way.
Wise words.
Let's wrap up this segment with a quick look at some international news that could affect the market. The FTSE 100, that's the UK's main stock index, hit a new high today.
Interesting. What's behind that?
A few factors, including the UK's solid economic performance. It's a good reminder that the global economy is all interconnected.
Right.
What happens in one region can have a domino effect on others.
Absolutely. And while it's good to see these positive signs around the world, we also have to keep an eye out for potential risks. Things like geopolitical tensions can shift market sentiment pretty quickly.
Very true. The ongoing situation in Gaza is a stark reminder that world events can have a big impact on financial markets. Even amidst positive news, it's crucial to stay informed about those potential risks.
Agreed. Being aware of both the opportunities and the challenges is essential for navigating this complex market.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
We're in a home stretch now, ready to wrap up our exploration of all the market and economic news from today.
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it?
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. From those global economic trends to, company earnings reports. We even touched on how tech and personal finance are all intertwined.
Yeah, a lot of moving pieces.
And speaking of tech and personal finance, I think it's worth pointing out a theme that kind of runs through a lot of the stories we talked about today.
What do you have in mind?
Well, it's this idea that we're living in a time of really fast change, and that change is having a huge impact on, well, both the financial markets and our own personal finances.
Yeah, that's a good point. We talked about those AI agents and how they might change the job market.
Exactly. And we also discussed how all these technological advances are driving innovation in so many industries, healthcare, transportation, even social media.
And let's not forget the role of government policy in all of this, like that potential TikTok ban and those loans to clean energy companies.
Right. It seems like every day there's some new breakthrough, some policy change, some global event that could shake things up, both in the market and in our wallets.
It's a lot to keep up with.
It is. So what does this all mean for, the average investor or anyone who's trying to, manage their money?
I think the biggest takeaway is that being adaptable is more important than ever. We need to understand these trends, see how they're shaping the market and the economy, and be ready to change our strategies if we need to.
It's not enough to just, set it and forget it anymore.
Exactly. We have to be proactive, stay informed, and be open to change.
Because in this fast-paced world, the only thing that stays the same is change itself.
Well said. And while change can be a little scary, it also creates opportunities.
That's true. New technologies, new ideas, new ways of doing things that can lead to amazing growth and innovation.
And that's something to be excited about.
It is. So as we head into the weekend, I encourage everyone to think about what we discussed today.
Think about how these trends might affect your investments, your job, even your personal life.
And most importantly, stay curious, stay informed, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Because in a world with so much information, knowledge is truly power.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the market and economic trends that are shaping our world.
We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit entertaining.
We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the news that matters most to you.
Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the curve.